2 days later, the whole car was laying across the garage floor in bits. And I'd realised at that point too that its original colour was blue. So regardless of what the colour was out of the factory, that was the colour I was going to paint it. If it had been, you know, baby poo brown, then it was going to go back to baby poo brown. But thankfully it was Aussie blue, and it was a much nicer colour. Hi there, my name is Rob Annette, and this is my 1968 Porsche 911T. It's the first Porsche that I bought, and I've owned it for over 21 years now. And the story of me getting hold of the car was a little bit interesting, I suppose. I had a business in Sydney, and a very good customer of mine, I told him once, oh, I'd love to get a Porsche one day. You know, it's been a goal ever since I read TV Week magazine, but that's another story. And he said, oh, I've got an old Porsche in the shed at home. He says, it's been sitting there for 13 years. I haven't driven it. It's got dust all over it. And I bought it for my wife, but she doesn't like it. So it just sits there. So I asked him, I said, John, sell it to me. And he goes, no, you're not getting it. You're not going to get that. I said, all right, well, whenever you get tired of it, let me know. So he kept coming into the business, into the office quite a bit. And he was a pretty rough old fella. He had a excavation type business, and he drove a big bulldozer and everything. He was missing fingers and missing an eye. So he'd come in again the next time. I'd say, John, come sell me that bloody Porsche. No, go and get buggered, he'd say, you're not getting it. So I kept at him, and I kept at him, and I kept at him. And one day he came into the office, and I said, John, come on mate, when are you going to sell me this bloody Porsche? And he goes, for God's sake. He said, all right, come up on the weekend and have a look at it. So, whoa, I thought, this is a start. My wife and I headed up to his property in Dural in Sydney, and in the shed, it was white at this point, covered in a coat of dust and spider webs all through it. And on the front seat, he had all his registration papers, so he was able to get it registered, but he never actually drove it anywhere. So I quickly noticed that the car was a short wheelbase 911. So in 911 terms, that's a very early car and quite a rare car. And as soon as I seen what it was, I just thought, wow, you know, that needs to be brought back to life, John. I said, that can't just sit there, it's too good. He told me he was going to put big flares on it and a turbo wing and all that stuff, and I said to myself, well, thank God you didn't, because you would have ruined a lovely car. Anyway, he eventually said, okay, I'll sell it to you. And he told me he wasn't going to sell it for any less than what he bought it for, so I paid him $1,000 more than what he paid for it, and that's against my religion. But anyway, that's how these things go sometimes. So we went and got some money, came back up a week later, and we started the car. I turned the heater on, the hand pull on the floor, the little heater, and of course the thing's filled with smoke on the inside. It had been sitting that long that all the seals had gone hard, and all the O-rings and everything on the oil tubes had all hardened up, so it was leaking oil into the heat exchanger. Anyway, once the oil burnt off and we wound the windows down and we headed off home, yeah, it was ours. It was painted white. It's now back in its original colour of Aussie blue. And all the interior was original. There's the original engine, so it was all there. It just needed a little bit of loving. So the car had newer version of the mirrors on it, so it had like the more modern mirrors. It had the rear grille all painted black and other little bits and pieces to try and make it look a bit more modern. So we would drive it around. I used to get home from work on a Saturday afternoon, and I'd hop in it and just go for a drive, because I just realised how gorgeous it was, and it was just a joy to drive. So we were out one day with it, with a bunch of friends. We actually went to Eastern Creek to go-karting, and on the way back it got a bit dark, and the friends of ours in the car behind said, it looks like it's cross-eyed, it looks like Gunter. And I said, what do you mean it looks like Gunter? She goes, oh, the little kid in the Dennis the Menace movie, he was cross-eyed and his name was Gunter. So of course at that very moment the name stuck, and ever since then our little Aussie Blue 911 has been affectionately known as Gunter. So when we got home that evening, another mate of mine who was with us as well said to me, let's pull the headlight off and see if we can align it and get it straight so it doesn't look cross-eyed anymore. Of course, we didn't stop at the headlight. 2 days later, the whole car was laying across the garage floor in bits, and I realised at that point too that its original colour was blue. So regardless of what the colour was out of the factory, that was the colour I was going to paint it. If it had been, baby poo brown, then it was going to go back to baby poo brown. Thankfully it was Aussie blue, and it was a much nicer colour. So that started a bit of a restoration for us. My wife and I did most of it ourselves. Because it looked back then so good in its new coat of paint. The interior was original, but we decided to just freshen it up. So we had all new leather ordered for it, and new houndstooth, but we retained its original colours and its original scheme, but just had it all refreshed. And about 1.5 years later, after the engine was rebuilt and we had a new exhaust for it, and it was looking pretty good, we took it back to the original owner, John, the hard as nails, one-eyed excavation guy, and he basically had a cry. And he said, wow, I can't believe it's the same car, I want it back. And that's the story of Gunter. So my Porsche love didn't start with a 911, of course. It started with a 944. back then, whenever I was a kid at school, my mum used to buy a magazine called TV Week. This is pre-internet days, and in the TV Week magazine was a competition, and if you wrote in 100 words or less why you read TV Week, you could win a red 944, and there was a lovely picture of the car in the magazine. And I fell in love with that car. I thought, wow, I had no idea really about 911s or anything else. I'd just seen this 944 with the pumped out guards and sitting low and modern and sleek, and I thought that's a lovely car. So I didn't win the contest, writing 100 words or less why you read TV Week. That was going to be obvious, so I thought I'd better do something with my life because I really want one of those, and that's how I ended up with my love affair of Porsche, and then eventually I did get that red 944.